how can one get across the essence of these teachings without a student becoming rigid, without him getting a very fixed concept of what it's about and seemingly acting out of that, becoming narrow?
How shall we do it? Would you start with learning? Because learning is a constant process, isn't it? So there can be no rigidity if there is really an act of listening and learning. Both listening to everything that's happening outside and inside, and learning. Would that reduce the rigidity?
Seemingly what happens often is that an idea is formed of what the teachings are about.
That's just it.
And this often, apparently, blocks the response to many things.
Yes.
So there is an almost instant condemnation of things that are happening because they don't fit in with the idea of what the teachings are about.
We're asking, aren't we, how is it possible to prevent ideation being formed? Why do we do this? Why do we make everything into ideas, conclusions?
Isn't that part of our conditioning itself?
Well, let's explore it a little bit. Is there a time interval between listening and acting, and therefore ideation being formed? I listen to what you are saying verbally, and I form a conclusion from it and act according to that conclusion. The 3 steps: listening, conclusion, and then acting. So there is a time interval between listening and acting. Why do we do this? This is our process.
We have a continuous resistance to effort. And when you've got an idea, that makes it all simple. You just simplify it to an idea, and then you don't have to think any more about it. So that's one of the tendencies why you get ideas, to save yourself effort.
Are we saying that where there is listening, ideation of formulation and action, there is effort involved in it? Whereas listening, acting, and not ideation, then there is no effort. You see and act. Like seeing danger and acting.
But the mind tends to store up in the memory a residue of that, which is that X is dangerous. Whatever was perceived is a danger. Therefore, that is stored as a sort of stationary fact in the memory.
Let's go into that too. That is, one sees a dangerous snake, and there is instant action. That instant action has been conditioned by centuries of being told that snakes are dangerous, and therefore it's a conditioned action. of self-preservation. That is, now, is there a difference between that and listening and acting? Seeing, observing and acting? In the observation, there is no conclusion, no preconceived ideas. You observe, see what is, and act.
But perhaps because of the previous process, which is to see that the snake is dangerous, we tend to carry that over into everything and accumulate a lot of facts about something and act out of that rather than the new perception. The mind seems to have conceived as learning as accumulated facts from which one reacts instead of something different.
Now, let's see. The danger of a snake, a conditioned response, and observing and acting, is there a difference between these two? The one is a response of memory, deeply conditioned and all the rest of it, and the other, there is no memory of a response of memory, only observation and action. Can we live that way?
Let's take before conclusions. Well, aren't all conclusions arising out of the known, in which there is some feeling of security? And the observation and action is free from the known, free from the conditioning. I think we
So I observe, one observes in oneself jealousy. The conditioned response to that is, I mustn't be jealous, or rationalize jealousy, or suppress it, or it's run away from it. Those are all conditioned responses to jealousy. Now, the other is the observation of jealousy without all the conditioning responses, just the observation of jealousy and the ending of it. Now, jealousy is a word. We went into that. Jealousy is a word, it thought, image, and habit, right? When I say I'm jealous, it is. Need I go through all that? Must we? Huh? We have gone into it, need I? Huh?
May I just bring this up again, the original point? Because there is jealousy and all the things that we are caught in. There is also the idea that because I have listened to,
yes.
I have got the answer to all this.
Yes.
And that others who are exhibiting these things are inferior. And they are caught in it, but I'm not, because I've listened to the speaker and I know that this is, I know how it is. So there seems to be a double, an edifice, as it were.
But if one is aware of that, I am not, and the others are, what happens? I'm aware that I am not and you are, or you are and I am in it. What happens then? If you are aware of this feeling of superiority, this feeling of that you have gone beyond that, poor chap, you, all the rest of it. If you are aware of, would you go through it? Would you have such a feeling? Which is really another form of jealousy, isn't it? Huh?
It's a cultivation of habit.
Yes, habit, another form, same thing.
But the habit of this other kind of learning, of getting hold of a fact and sitting on it, is so innately ingrained in the human child from the moment it's born on, and in each one of us, that is there some way that we can explain to the student and to ourselves the constant watchfulness, not to fall into that habitual way of learning something. So that you...
When I'm learning about myself, or the way I think, the motives, or when I'm learning about myself, I don't think this would ever arise. I would be superior to the other.
The tendency to make that a fixed fact in one's thinking, after one's perceived it, and let it fall back into the old way, is tremendously strong. It's, I think, the thing we're talking about.
That's habit again. So,
tendency to make...
Now, is it possible, again we go back to the question, to drop a habit, see what habit does, which is mechanical process, which is the mind, the brain has become mechanical, see its danger of it and drop it. Apparently that's the most difficult thing, what we were discussing the other day. To see a habit and to drop it.
It seems in a sense easy, quite easy, for instance, with the students here, to get them into a way of life wherein they don't smoke and drink and eat meat, for instance. That seems fairly easy. But then it seems to be that in the very process of that, there seems to be an ideation taking place that because I don't smoke and drink and eat meat, etc., I am therefore, when I go out into the world and meet people who do these things, they are obviously, they are not
untouchables.
This is, and also, of course, with the deeper things, which is worse.
Is that an intelligent action, an intelligent... is that intelligence when I say I'm better off, I'm better than you are? So how can we cultivate that intelligence? We come back to the same thing. What shall we do? How shall we cultivate this intelligence? We said intelligence is, if we all agree to that, see that, intelligence is perception and action, no ideation. That is intelligence. Now, how do we convey this to the student so that he becomes really intelligent? What would I do? What would you do, sir? What would I do with a lot of children, students of various conditioning, from different so-called culture and all that. Now, how shall I, if I'm a teacher here, how shall I break down all that? And in the very process of breaking down, they become intelligent. Right? Now, how shall I, if I was here, what shall I do? What would I do? Come on, sirs, what would you do?
Perhaps one thing you can do is pursue a certain habit of thinking that you notice that student has, not in the way of preconceived pursuance, but whenever it comes up, it can perhaps be gently pointed out or discussed that, is this the same thing that has happened yesterday? And of course it can work both ways, but sort of pursuing a habitual pattern of looking at the world, that because we see the students so frequently, we very frequently notice that they have. For instance, likes and dislikes. It's very, one particular thing, always doing what you like. And I think that could be, by the end of term, be trodden into ground if it's worked on.
Is that what you are doing? Is that the way you would do it? What would you do, sir? Come on, let's have a dialogue about this.
That ends into a kind of, from the student's point of view, moralizing. We're underlining the party line that...
I mean, I was going to say, couldn't we first find a common factor in ourselves first, to expose to the student, as it were?
Well,
I don't mean to say expose to the student, but to find the common factor within ourselves first. I don't know. I'm just thinking.
Then we're back to that confession to student.
No, not necessarily confession, but first we must be on safe ground. We must know what we're talking about.
No, we are going to face this day after tomorrow, Sunday, from Monday on, or Sunday on. Oh,
Most of them.
all right, we are all here. What shall we do?
We've abandoned them. We've said, look after yourselves.
Today? I know, but what shall we do? Please, apart from, what shall I do? What would you do, each one of us?
Come and listen to you. That's what we're doing.
Passing the buck.
Passing the buck.
Huh?
Leaving them to get on with it.
Huh?
We're leaving them to get on with it.
No,
But
I don't want to leave them.
But we are.
I know for the time only to this morning.
Well, it's a very vital time.
No, only this morning. You're not going to leave them like this every morning.
Could we perhaps look at it this way? Presumably, the way their mind works at the moment, they think it's quite natural. They perceive something, but they don't act. There is that.
How will you deal with this?
Right. You have to bring that to their notice first. We've talked about it and we've understood that this is what is necessary, but the students don't know that yet.
Would it be helpful to try to sort out, from the student's point of view, the area in which the so-called old way, a fact, a drive on the left in Britain or something like that, is applicable and useful and so forth, but that there is that way of looking at certain other factors is very harmful, so that they can see...
I'm not interested in all this.
But I think it's terrible.
How would you do it? What will you do? You're going to face them from tomorrow or today. How will you tackle this problem? As teachers, as a community, as a together. Not each one having his own idea about this. Together, how shall we do this? Come on, sir.
The question seems to be to not create an orthodoxy to replace the one that they have come out of. For instance, they've come out of, say, a Catholic background or a Protestant background or this or that background, and having discarded that, or perhaps think they have discarded that, to create a new orthodoxy based on what you are saying.
Yes.
Now, this is the question.
I understand that. Is that what we are all going to do?
This is what is worrying.
Yes. He says, instead of old orthodoxy,
a new orthodoxy. Yeah.
Yes.
But if you've seen the truth of something, would it become an orthodoxy? I mean, you have to see the truth of what is being said and act from that, rather than say, this is what is thought here. This is what the teachings say. You're putting it to the test in the daily functioning of it, of everything, on all levels. So I don't see how you have there's a danger always, because we cling to something that seems familiar. But if you're meeting the actual moment that you're dealing with, I don't see how that arises. I think it's thinking about it.
But it does arise. I mean, one can't deny that it does arise.
Yeah, but that's our job to deal with it and break it down as it arises.
Why? That's what we're talking about, isn't it?
But that is the thing in action.
Yes, I know that that's the thing in action, but...
So that you're on the ball the whole time, whatever you're doing. It doesn't matter what you're doing.
But I don't know, I feel one could perhaps go further into it.
Is that what you're all going to do? Point out each time as the thing arises?
Discuss it.
Is that what you're all going to do?
One has to listen to what
At the end of a month they say, oh my God, here. When they say that again, say, well, Lord, I've heard that before.
But it wouldn't be the same if one was also learning and reacting in the moment. And in this way, one wouldn't establish an idea or a set procedure.
How would you do this? Were you going to say some person?
Should I?
Hey, please, please.
So, we have discussed a great deal with you, both in India and here. We've gone into it. We can, intellectually, we talk a great deal about it. We also do a great deal of work, in the sense we work with the students, work with the teachers and so on. But is it possible we have not succeeded in keeping the matrix really alive?
I know, that's what my point is.
And this is, to put it in another way, it's these two are easy, but the other thing seems to be inordinately difficult to keep really awake.
How would you do
that? One is lazy or asleep.
I know this stuff, I know. How would you deal with this problem, Shakuntala? You've got to, please answer, you'll have to discuss this. What would I do? May I hold forth? Huh? I don't want to. The way I would do it I may be wrong. Please correct it and don't listen, accept it, jump on me, criticize, go into it with me. As I feel very strongly that they should radically change psychologically, that's my chief concern, nothing else. Except they have to study and all that. But my chief concern, my commitment, my passion is that they should, when they live here, they should be totally different human beings. That's my chief concern. Now, being that being my concern, I want to convey this to them. So that they see the importance of it, right? They see the necessity of it. They see that they must be like that. That's the first thing I want them to understand. Which means I want them to listen to what I'm saying, to listen. All right, may I go on?
Would you? You're just restating the question now.
Huh?
You're just putting the question in different words. The question that you put to us is, how do you bring that about?
I'm going to do it. As I am the teacher for the moment, as I'm concerned, I want them, this is my chief concern. So I would meet them, if I was here, every day about that. Set about 10 minutes or half an hour every day and say, listen now, we must find out together how to change ourselves radically. I said, are you interested in this? Do you want this to happen? Then they would ask me, what do you mean by change? Then I would have dialogue with them. They say, then in that dialogue, I would show each other, how we are conditioned, how we accept things, how we have, and so on, so on. I would devote my energies to this course now completely to make them understand this. What is? Huh?
I don't see how that would work. We have
because I feel passionately. I would convey my passion to them.
But if a staff of 20 odd each spend 10 or 15 minutes a day,
no, together. Together. Don't reduce. I told you, if I had to do it, that's my passion. I would convey my passion to them. I would find 10 different ways to convey it. On a walk, sitting, I would do it.
I think the task for us seems to be to convey it non-verbally, really.
Non-verbally as well as verbally. I would say, listen to me. See what's happening in the world. You are conditioned. You are this. You follow. Go into it with them completely. I'm not frightened. I say I'm exposing myself to you. I don't mind. But don't make that into a burden about it. I'm not putting a burden on you. See what I'm doing.
being done already, but this is being done already, but obviously we are not doing it in the right way.
They find out if you are doing it, what's wrong? Why don't they catch fire about this?
Because they inevitably feel they're being spoken down to. They inevitably feel they're being spoken down to.
They feel they're spoken down to.
I know. I've told you, I've come off the pedestal of mood. All that's washed out. Cut it out. We've been through that.
Assuming that they don't catch fire seems to be an assumption that isn't necessarily carried out. One can think of a certain number of students who have caught fire. They may not be burning with a great gunpowder bonfire, but the fire is there and it's glowing.
I want them to catch fire and that fire burns for the rest of their life, not just a couple of days and disappear. I want them to have it.
I think there's some of them for whom it is.
So, may I put the question to you? Is this a passion to you? Is this really our chief concern, apart from study and all the rest of it? Is this our real passionate concern for each one of us? Amen. See, I'm going to make them. What did we say? Every Tuesday by themselves. And Thursday with all the staff and the students. Sunday, all the staff, students, and invited. Now, I'm going to meet them on Tuesday. This I'm going to convey to them. I'll find out. I find out how to do it, because I know I can do it. Because I'm passionate about it.
Krishnji, this is surely every time over the many times we meet you say, how will you do this? How will you do it? This is the only response, is it not?
Now, I'm using how in the only...
No, that's all right.
Yeah.
But
I won't use any more how.
No,
I'll cut it out.
But when you keep saying, what are you going to do? Or this surely, for me, is the only response, which is why mostly I think we're silent. I care enough, I'm passionate about this, I will do it. It will.
No, no. If you're passionate, you must convey this passion to them.
Yes.
Now.
Excuse me, Krishnji, but the horses are charging around with one student.
What?
Is that all right, Jim?
What?
The students are charging around with the horses outside. Is that all right?
Have that been good?
I think you ought to.
There's a fourth horse?
There's a fourth horse and the two small children right in the middle of them charging around.
If you and I are passionate about it, passion is common to us. Not your passion is different from my passion, right? Passion is passion, right? And our approach to the student must be the same.
Well, it must stem from the same...
Yes, stem from the same, yeah. So we must be careful that we don't contradict each other to the student. Right? You may say one thing out of your passion, and I may say something out of my passion which may contradict yours. But we're both passionate. So we must go into that, so that you and I don't contradict each other.
Yes, we do spend a lot of time amongst ourselves.
We are doing it now. We must be careful not to contradict each other. Not careful. We must, right? Now, how shall we, not in what way then shall we convey this without each one of us contradicting it? Contradicting each other.
I don't see that if there is a real observation and a real awareness and a real caring amongst us about what we're doing here, I don't see quite that contradiction arises. In fact, it does arise, I know. But I don't think the question is to avoid us saying different things. I think the question is, are we all one as to what we're doing here?
The question is that students will not accept from the teacher what they accept from Krishnamurti. They won't accept it. You know, the students have actually said at their meetings, the function of the teacher here is to teach and leave the other business to Krishnamurti.
Oh no!
They have said it, that we don't want to hear anything of Krishnamurti's teachings from the teacher.
Is that it? No, I would cut out. Wait a minute.
That's why I'm wondering whether it's absolutely wise for you to see the students alone.
No, I would not talk about the teachings. I am concerned, as we are concerned, about the transformation of a human mind, human being, which is absolutely necessary in this culture or in these times. That's all we are concerned, not about Krishnamurti's teachings. So I'm blazes with all that stuff.
I don't think that comes into it. It's not your teaching.
No, of course not.
If that was the case, then we might as well hang up. Now, if that's the case, Doris, we might as well stop the whole school because Kay won't be here all the time. And we can't go, we can't have that.
I wouldn't enter into that at all. I'd say are we concerned together? Do we feel passionate together about this? It's nothing to do with somebody's teaching.
But there is I don't quite follow. If you're passionate about the same thing, the transformation of man, then how can there be contradiction? And there can be contradiction.
Oh, yes. Of course there must be contradiction. You and I may feel passionate, right?
If it's on the same line, if it's on the same, seeing the need for the changing of man, how is there...
You and I see the basic need of transformation of man. You and I may feel very strongly about it, passionately about it. Now, would you not convey that passion in a different way from me? Yes. And there might be contradiction in that.
There might be
contradiction
because we've not all handled our own conditioning, and therefore...
That's what I'm saying.
Yes. Well, there may be contradiction, do you mean, in the way the student interprets what's being done?
No, how you convey, not in what you say to the student, how you deal with a problem with the student. I may deal it one way, and you may deal it another way, and therefore there might be contradiction in that.
Actual contradiction.
Actual contradiction, of course. That's what I'm talking about.
Everything politically, psychologically, educationally, and religiously claims to be concerned with the transformation of the human being. There's an infinity of approaches.
See, I've come off the pedestal. I really have no motive. And as also you pointed out to me as a new teacher, self-interest. I see that. Now, my passion is to see that they understand this basic necessity of transformation. And I will talk to them. My talking and my acting towards them must be the same as yours, otherwise we'll all contradicting each other. That's all I'm trying, basically. You might say, it's all right, oh boy, go and smoke. And I said, oh, please. See, that's a habit. Don't be caught in a habit. So there's immediate contradiction. Wonderful.
Are you familiar with the evangelical movement in religion?
Huh?
The evangelists.
I am a super evangelist. Not the Jesus bloody kind, but I'm super of all that.
In that movement, people utilize I don't know what you call it, a trick of the mind.
Oh, no, I don't want tricks.
And I think that none of us want tricks here.
No, of course not.
But this, there is the obvious capability of the mind to shift its self-image from one of a low one. I'm nothing. I have no energy. I don't have the passion, and then slip into another totally different.
No, that's all phony. That's phony.
That's totally phony.
I agree, but we're not talking about phony.
That's what Steve is saying. That you can really change your idea and transform into a new idea.
And
I now have the passion. I'm
it.
going to speak for 10 minutes a day. I'm going to do this because you have the desire for that transformation.
That's what do we have to? Shall we begin again? Right. Don't we all see the importance of radical transformation of a human mind? Suppose I do, and you don't. I have to show it to you, haven't I? How important it is. And I say to you, will you please listen? For God's sake, listen to what I have to say. Will you listen? Or you say, yes, my chap, you're too serious, forget it. Or will you really listen to what I have to say? So I shall proceed by asking those students, do you really want to find out what I want to say?
Because for some of them, you are talking about issues which they themselves have had no contact with. They themselves have not reached a maturity or an experience with the world that they see the necessity for this. Or
they see that.
No, that they don't see.
It's my job to show it to them.
I mean, the first meeting of your students, I mean, if you assume they all want to.
No, I'm going to make them want it.
Good. You make our job very easy.
It's my responsibility, it's my job, my bread and butter. That's why I'm here.
When you ask the question to us, will we listen? I mean, all of us will say to you, yes, we will listen.
And not translate into ideas.
Yeah, but see, we'll say, we'll try to do that.
Don't try. Don't try. Don't do it.
But you see what I'm saying?
I understand very well, sir.
I mean, we realize that if we are translating, if we're not, then we're not listening. And if we're not listening, this whole thing is a farce.
Therefore, here it is. Don't translate or make an abstraction of the fact of the necessity of change. Don't make an abstraction of it.
But I may be translating as you say that.
Don't, that's just what I want. Please don't do it.
But if we are doing it,
I said, please be aware of it.
Well, I'm not translating.
Be aware of it. See that you're doing it. Stop it.
Well, I mean, but if there is self-deception in the human mind, if there is self-deception, then the deception covers that over. We don't see that we're not doing that.
Are you, Mr. Joe, saying that you cannot stop making an abstraction of it?
All I can say to you, honestly, is I don't see that. If I am making an abstraction of it, I don't see it.
So you're not doing it.
I say I'm not doing it.
So just that's good enough.
But it may not be good enough.
Very good enough for the time being. Let's go into it. Which means you are really not concerned with ideas, but with action.
But I think what he's saying is that he could be fooling himself.
What?
I could say that I see it, but I might be fooling myself.
You will find out. Don't say, I might be fooling myself, and talk about it.
We might be making an abstraction out of action.
Yes, so, but find out if you're making a fool of yourself or caught in an illusion. Don't say, I might.
Well, how do you find that? How do you find that out?
Now,
with certainty.
We said you make an abstraction because either you don't want to act or want to escape through an idea, or there is the desire to change, which is a motive.
When you say abstraction here, do you mean abstraction about there being a self? Some abstraction related to a self-image?
No, just a minute. Let's stick to one thing. Do we both see the absolute necessity of radical change in the human mind? Right? That's all we're talking about. Now, when you listen to that, do you make an abstraction of that into an idea?
Well, the word radical change, either that has some meaning to you.
Psychologically, yes. I'll convey to you what I mean.
If you haven't made it, if you don't know what a radical change is.
I'll explain to you. Don't quarrel over words.
I'm not quarreling.
No, I'll explain to you what a radical change is. A radical change implies not conforming to a pattern. That's one thing. Not conforming to any authority. Authority of your own experience or the authority of another. Right? Are you following?
Yeah, I'm following. I mean, because we do conform.
I said, of course, I put on trousers when I go.
Right.
Of course, we are talking
intelligent conformation.
We are talking psychologically, conforming to a pattern.
A pattern of thought and ideation.
Or ideation, that's the same thing. And radical change is eliminating time altogether. Say, I will be something. I will change later on. Right? That's one of the basic things in transformation. I can explain lots more, but that's one of the basic things. You agree? Do you see that?
I think we're with you with that.
Huh?
I think we're all with you with that.
Wait, now, if you're all with me or with the person who is talking, you feel that's important, don't you? Huh?
Obviously important. Obviously.
Obviously. Now, do you feel passionate enough to convey it to those students? Say, don't act instantly, don't allow time to interfere after explaining what's all the thing involved in it.
Well, we do that when we see them acting in a pattern, thinking in a pattern, conforming.
Yes,
we do that.
Yes, but apparently they don't do it. You pointed.
Not always. Sometimes they do.
Sometimes I want. Please, my God, you people. I want my son to be intelligent. And I want not just wishy-washy stuff. It's my burning desire that should be totally different from the rest of the human monsters that are growing up in the world.
Yes, but you are asking for a total intelligence.
I am. What's the point otherwise? I said, well, why should I waste my life on this? You might ask me, you have talked for 50 years, have you done it there? Then if you haven't done it there, why the heck do you expect those children to do it?
I mean, I'm asking, have we done it here? Have I done it? Huh?
So what? What are you trying to say?
I'm saying our task is much more difficult because I have to convey something to them that I'm not totally free of.
You are not totally free and they are not totally free. Therefore, we've been through that. Talk it over with them. Say, look, I am not. We are both on the same level with regard to this. I may know history much more than you do, but that's a different matter. So as I've come off my pedestal, and we are together in this problem. So let us, both of us, find out. God, you're all... Huh? You see, sir, if I may put it differently, the older generation to whom I talk, they like it. They like these ideas and so on, but they are already heavily conditioned. They've got work, they're married, and so on. Tremendous problems they have. Here, with these students, they have not got tremendous problems as the grown-up people have. So perhaps we can change this little bit. Not a little bit. I withdraw quickly.
Krishnaji, how can we be sure we're not involving ourselves in the blind leading the blind?
That's your job to find. If you're blind, find out why you're blind. So we all say, yes, how can I, if I am blind, how can I change leading, all the rest of it. And you make that statement and remain there.
Krishnaji, how can we be sure we're not involving ourselves in the blind leading the blind?
That's your job to find. If you're blind, find out why you're blind. So we all say, yes, how can I, if I am blind, how can I change leading, all the rest of it. And you make that statement and remain there.
To have seen through conditioning is one thing, but love seems to be an entirely different thing.
Yes. Passion is love.
I generally can see when there's a pattern of thought. I mean, I can't be certain that I see through all the patterns of thought that the mind goes through. But sometimes I feel that love is an idea. It's more like I should love.
I know. So you don't love.
Now, and then approaching a student, without that love, without that compassion, in a sort of cold, analytical, intellectual way, even though you're talking about conditioning, even though you're pointing out some habit, some lapse of his attention.
Are you saying that because we have no love, everything becomes intellectual and verbal, and therefore it has really no deep effect?
Seems to be,
Huh?
That's what they seem to feel.
And the intellect.
If that is so, what should we do? What's the next step? That we're always preaching to them, that we're always telling them what they're to do, etc., etc. They get bored with it, they get hardened, we know all that. Then what should we do? If they don't feel that there is no love, what? Then move from there. Don't repeat that and stay there.
I think we have an affection for the children, for the students, for each other. I mean, we realize that...
But affection is all right, but it's much more than that.
It seems to go back to when we're talking about love in the sense we're using it in this room, as everyone is aware. It doesn't exist when one is still involved in these problems of self. And as Joe says, we have affection for the students, we have concern, we have sympathy or empathy. But if there isn't that
what will you do? I understand. We've got little affection, all right. But that's not good enough. There must be love. Then proceed. How to have this thing?
To free yourself of...
It may be in India, here, or everywhere, there may be no love. Let's see. You follow, sir? But, look, I have affection, but I see it's not good enough. The other thing is what is necessary. Then, how shall I proceed? Say, well, I keep on saying I have no love, but I've got little affection, and what? What is my next step?
Love is not a thing one can cultivate.
Agreed. Cultivation means time. I can cultivate an onion, but not love.
I don't know the answer to this. I think that love, that if this place is found on earth...
If I haven't got it, sir, if I haven't got that love, perhaps you may have it, what am I to do?
I truly have no idea.
What? You have these are all your children, your sons and daughters, and you have that love if you have it. Suppose you have it, and they haven't got it. What will you do? That you are burning desire, passion.
I thought we were talking about us.
All right, I'm saying to you, I haven't got that love. You may have it. Help me to have it. To at least smell it, taste it.
I think that happens.
Huh?
I think that does happen. It can't avoid it happening.
Why not? I know it cannot be cultivated. I know it's not a thing that you give it to me.
No, I don't think it can avoid but be communicated.
Huh?
I think if the person has love, the speaker has love, it must be communicated, it can't be avoided.
I know, but you can communicate it. I can't because I haven't got it. Then I am asking you, please teach me, and what am I to do? Is it that I am seeking power? That I want to dominate people? Is it that I would, you follow, I would give up everything to have that? Not have it in the sense I possess it, you understand what I mean? Is it power, position, myself, more important, and so on? I would investigate, I would break everything down to find it out. Because without it, you follow, it all turns to ashes.
If I say I have no love, isn't that already a self-image that I have about myself?
And that's not, you know, you don't, we are talking about verbally, of course, it's not image. You can't put into words. There is the feeling of it. There is the extraordinary sense of, you know, all the rest of it. You don't have to. But we are talking verbally for the time being. You may have it, and I haven't got it. It isn't in me. And I'd like to have that flower born in me.
What is it you mean when you speak of love in this sense?
Huh?
What is it you mean, this quality of love that you're talking about now?
What do I mean?
Many people, an abstraction, a sentimental abstraction.
Oh, no.
There is. And one's love.
It has nothing to, we said that it has nothing to do with sentiment, emotion, romanticism.
What does it mean in this place, this school, amongst these people, ourselves, the students, those who come here? What does it mean? What is it you're talking about? What is that quality that should be here?
I don't think it can be put into words.
Well,
the description is not the described. The word is not the thing. We are talking about the thing, not the word.
But if one says concern, affection, friendliness, compassion.
No, don't use friendliness. No. Affection, friendliness, kindness, gentleness has nothing to do with love. It's a negation of all this, you have the other. I just don't.
You just negate friendliness, compassion?
No, negate. No, if you have love, all the other things come. But if you have all these things as a kind of basket full, the other thing won't happen.
But love is, at least to me, something infinite, something there is no describing.
I've said that, there's no description. Word is not distinct, therefore I won't indulge in words about it.
Unless one is on a plane where this is a total reality all the time, what does it mean to those of us who are not, except I feel that we're using something sacred in a lesser way because of not knowing that totality. And therefore it's terribly dangerous to talk easily about love. I don't mean you.
It may be, I may convey to you if you are very quiet. Instead of all these arguments and back and forth, if perhaps you are very quiet, you may know it. I may convey it to you. Or there might be non-verbal communication. Therefore, I want those two. You follow, my concern is that, nothing else.
Well, it seems obvious that any self-image blocks seeing that. Now, it seems to me also that the usual case is that I have a self-image blocking seeing love, but I don't see that self-image. It's not clear to me. But say you see that in me. You see that you see my self-image, and so you also, knowing my self-image, you could hurt me, because any self-image can be hurt.
Surely.
Now, is love always avoiding hurting me?
No.
No,
obviously not.
Sometimes,
It's like going to a surgeon.
No, I mean psychological hurt.
So I mean that psychologically, if you are hurt, then then you have to pick up that problem and go into that problem where you are hurt.
Well, I might be hurt if you. I have this idea that I'm very humble.
Yes.
You
I would say you might feel very humble. I say, look, you're playing a game with yourself.
But that might hurt me.
Then pick it up. Look, you might be hurt, and you say, why are you hurt?
So are you suggesting then that sometimes, maybe all times, that before that self-image can be seen and evaporated, that there has to be some...
It has to be shaken up. Of course. Inevitably. If I'm a Catholic, and to me that's an image which I've created for myself, you come along and say, don't be silly, I get shocked. Or I don't listen to you at all. I wish we could stick to one thing. That is, mine, not yours, but my chief concern is that radical, deep psychological change. And when he leaves this place, he must be so completely changed. That's my concern. In that concern is my love for that. I love him, so I'm passionate about it. We shall meet them. I will convey this. I say, look, that's my passion. I will show it. You see why it is. Look at the world, what's happening, everything, the appalling things that are happening, the cheating, the lying, the whole terror, all that. I say, look, therefore, you must change, you must be totally different. Not as a superior entity, just be different. And I will go into it. I say, what is involved in this? You must have love. There must be love in you. And they say, well, yes, sir, I have plenty of it because I want to sleep with that girl. Right? And so I'll break it down, go into it. When there is love, there is no jealousy, no hate, and go into it, convey it with my blood.
In actual practice, we meet the student, for the first time, say, in the corridor, and you look at them and you see that they're shy and that they're frightened and that this is not the time to start explaining to them
I saw some of them.
Why the world is like that.
They look so nice, some of them.
So what are we to do when we perceive their self-image, we see that they have this image about themselves and this making them afraid?
I break it down. I said, don't have an image. See what's involved. You will get hurt. For God's sake, don't get hurt, because you will get hurt as long as you have an image. You follow?
But this is, when we just meet them, we pass them in the corridor, and this is the first time.
I know, first time, sir. First time, they must feel that this is their home, that they are loved here. Now you know you can't do it. Leave it.
So how can we, without actually going into the details of why it is necessary why the transformation is necessary, how can we just in meeting them immediately convey this feeling of...
I will convey it because I feel very strongly. No, I would convey it all right. I would convey it. Whether they will do something about it is a different matter, right? They know. They know what I'm talking about. When I talk to big audiences, all the rest of it, they know exactly what I'm talking about. They may not want to do it. They may say, oh, for God's sake, this is much too difficult. We'll go away, do something else. My responsibilities, I have to earn money. But they know what I'm talking about. So I want them to know what we are talking about. All of us together, if we're not clear, they won't be clear. What we convey, if it is not clear to ourselves, we'll make them more confused. That's why I said, do we really want or feel the absolute necessity of this? Because here, with when they talk under the marquee, they listen, they know what I'm talking about, and go away. Here we have them for the next 4, 5, 6 months. We can cook them. Sorry. And I feel in those Indian schools, they exist to cook these children. And they don't. And here too, I said, for God's sake, don't let's waste our days and lovely days and all the rest of it on if we can't convey this to them and make them bring about a change. Look, sir, how they train. I was listening to something last night on the television. How a good family conveys to the children their taste, their way to behave. It's you follow? It's drilled into them. Day after day. I'm not saying that we should do that. It's that they're being conditioned that way. Here, if we could uncondition them that way, say, look, watch. It's,
Are they going to find this uncomfortable as well?
Oh, that's understood. That's what he meant. Mr. Joe meant that. They get hurt, they feel uncomfortable, they're frightened. So we have to go into it, point it all out, follow it. It's not you are making them uncomfortable. Society life is making them uncomfortable. The other day after the meeting in the marquee tent, a man came up to me, quite a young man. He said, I've understood what you're talking about. I want to be with you so that I get more and more. You follow? I said, that's stimulation, and you might just take a drug. He said, no, I just want to spend my days talking to you, being with you. And he said, then you depend on somebody. And he was really so moved, he began to cry, what am I to do? That's a different matter, because we're meeting there only 4 times in a year or something like that. Here we have got these children for 4 months, day after day.
Once we agree we're going to hurt the children, we're on terribly dangerous ground.
What's that?
Once we agree that we are going to hurt children, we're on very, very dangerous ground.
No, I would say not hurt them in this sense. I would go, sir, they are children, they are young, they are sensitive, they are also conditioned, they are also hard. They have already settled in a groove. You have to pull them out of it. Don't say that might hurt. So it all depends how you deal with it.
You've got to be terribly clear on the precise area in which it's legitimate to her.
It all depends how you deal with it, sir.
And you don't have to have love in your heart to see someone's conditioning.
No, of course not.
And see their image-making process and know how to hurt them. But if you go on that, it seems, and they're being hurt, and they look at you, and they don't see any love, and they don't see any compassion.
So I'd say, look,
then there's real fear built up.
I know, therefore I'll prevent it.
You've got to begin with
I said, I'll tell them, I said, look, I may say something, don't be hurt by it. Listen to find out. So then, No, I would approach 10 different ways. I would talk to them about meditation. I would talk to them for a sense. Unfortunately, it's not my job to stay in one place and cook anybody. My job apparently is to go around all the rest of what I've been doing for the last so many years. So perhaps it's maybe your fortunate job that you can cook them. Sorry, I'm using the word cook in the sense, not in any ugly sense. After all, they go to all various schools and colleges and so on to be conditioned more and more. If they can condition them, I don't see why we can't uncondition them here. It may be much more difficult. Better stop, don't you? 1 o'clock. Excellent.